Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is noon here in Georgia on today, whatever today is, Friday. I don't even know the date anymore. But I'm not going to take too much time up front today because I want to get right into my interview. We're going to go about an hour today, which is about what I normally go. And if you can't watch the whole thing, I understand. Come in out when you can, but I hope you'll stay because we got a very special guest as my online guest today. But I wanted to go into some quick things. Yesterday, we got these in. Y'all been waiting for them. There they are. The new mask, the shirt my wife did a couple of years ago. She is a nurse, and she designed this shirt a couple of years ago. It's Jesus. It's got the heartbeat lines, like off the monitor. And we decided to do a mask with it. So and I picked them up yesterday, which I think is cool. I'll show you what they look like up front. That was me picking them up yesterday. Now, if you can't wear a mask if you don't want to wear a mask at all, then don't buy one. I understand. Don't buy one. I don't wear one very often, but when I do, like I go to Costco occasionally, and they make you wear a mask. Listen, if we're going to have to wear a mask, promote Jesus. That's what I say. Let's get the name of Jesus out there. And whatever your attitude is about mask, no mask, be kind. When we're out there, uh, amongst people, let's be kind, especially when you're wearing Jesus mask. It's like when you give a track at a restaurant talking about Jesus. I hope you were nice to the waitress and waiter. So anyway, these are available now. We're shipping them out. If you ordered one, it's on its way. We shipped some yesterday. We're shipping some today, and we only have 16 left. Only 16 of these left. So if you want to get one, they're double ply stitched, and they're real comfortable. I really like them. So, and I want to show you something else too. This is Billy Lord is my worship pastor, and he and I and his wife Cassie, we did this 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember now, but December. We've already booked one date. We got another date. Somebody interested. So if you want to go to hopechristmasconcert.com, excuse me, tell your church hopechristmasconcert.com. We're booking December dates now for this. Now, I want to tell you, sorry, I should mute this when I cough, shouldn't I? But I want to tell you about my guest today. You've seen him on Fox and Friends. You've seen him on Fox News. Tucker Carlson has talked about him. He's been on the New Yorker magazine, wrote him up and called him God's comic. And we're going to join together in the fall because, listen, people are ready to get out, ready to laugh, ready to have a good time. And so here's what we're doing. Let's see if I can find it here. We're calling it the Back to Normal Tour with Brad Stein and Scott Davis. The Back to Normal. I have not bought into that new normal phrase. I don't like that. I just don't. You might love it. I don't know. Some preachers are using it. They've got a new normal. We got to get back to normal. We got to get back to the word. And so that's the reason I want to get so I'll tell you more about that later, but check this out, this interview that I did with Brad, and we talk about a lot of different stuff. So I'm gonna get right into the interview, and well, you know what? Let me put one more thing up here before I do that. I got to put this in here because this is how God's taking care of us. If you feel led to give, you can. ScottDavis.com/donate. If you have PayPal, you could do it that way. Square Cash is right there, and Venmo for you millennials out there. I had somebody last week give a little bit through that way. It does help us stay on the road. So please, if you want to donate $2 or $5 or $10 or whatever. And if you go to my Facebook page, I don't tell too many people about this, but my book is on sale right now for $10. If you go to my Facebook page, some of you watching, you're there now. Scroll down and look at that link that I posted last night. I am not my own. Just ask my wife. My devotional book, 42-day devotional, $10. That's shipping and everything. They sell for $12 normally. If you go to my main website, it's $12. This is a special link. If you want to pick up my book for $10, I'm only going to have that link active for a couple of days, maybe till Monday. So check it out and pick one of those up if you'd like. Beth McKamey, there's Beth. Hey, Beth, good to see you. I'm going to put that right up there because when we start this interview, that's where I'm going to have space. up there. But let's get into the interview. Brad Stein is a great guy. I met him about a year or so ago, and we're going to do some dates together in the fall. But let's get right into that.
Well, my next guest redefined Christian comedy with his breakout album called Put a Helmet On. Would you please welcome the man that New Yorker magazine called God's comic, Brad Stein.
The Founding Fathers made sure that each one of the states would have its own flavor, its own ability to feel exactly how it wanted to and have the things that mattered to it. And Tennessee has its own deal. Because I was driving around your interstates, and I think I've discovered the biggest waste of taxpayer money in Tennessee. It's your useless investment in speed limit signs. Who do you think you're kidding? Listen, if you're gonna have a sign, at least be honest. Call it what it is, speed, because that's all I saw. Everyone just, whoa, 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 it was crazy. And then I made the tragic mistake of getting in the fast lane. I don't know how fast you have to go to be in the fast lane, but apparently you have to go faster than the fastest guy that's fastly approaching your butt. If you're gonna be in the fast lane, you better be the fastest guy in Tennessee. And it was amazing to me, because I'm like driving there, minding my own business. This guy's like right on my rear end, he's just yelling at me, he's just angry at me. And he has kids in the car. Look at this idiot. He's going like 65 and a 65. So I was driving here, and I believe I counted 12 deer crossing signs. Which is ironic, because I counted 13 dead deer. Clearly, the deer are taking these signs seriously. And the problem is, they don't work. They never make it. But everywhere I went, it was just like the does and the little fawn babies dead on the side of the road. You never see a 10-point buck on the side of the road. You know why? Because the 10-point buck learns to send his family out first. That's why. Son, it says deer crossing. Give it a shot. All right, babe, let's go a little bit further down, see what happens. All right, sweetheart, give it a shot. I'm gonna stay on this side, I think. Gonna need me a new wife next season. Because I was in Georgia, and they had a sign that they stopped. You know what it's called? They said that somebody complained it was sexist. I know what you're thinking. What sign could be sexist on the freeway? That's because you're normal. They got angry because it said men at work. And let's just cut to the chase. The sign men at work was never accurate. God bless you guys for coming out on this night. I am so upset about the millennials walking away from the church, about Christians that are not standing for their faith, that don't know how to defend their faith. And I realized that because I'm into philosophy and apologetics, I was going to create a show with my background as a magician and family that are in the carnival, that I literally have a show that will teach the proofs of God. I always will believe this is the greatest nation the world's ever known. I always believe in our Constitution and so forth. But, you know, Republicans and Democrats aren't going to save this country. Jesus will.
Yeah. That's exactly right. You're exactly right.
So that's what I'm bringing. Teaches Christians to have even more faith in what they believe, and it teaches the skeptic to have even less faith in what he believes. So it's really an apologetic show.
You know, so many people almost are afraid to laugh. It's such a powerful tool in our culture. It's a healing medicine. Even the Bible says that laughter is a medicine. It's good for the soul, but a bitter heart dries up the bones. Why don't we understand the power of humor as a healing art?
Well, it's funny you say that, because in the God experience, that's one of the things I bring up. I said, in the entire universe, the only thing that laughs is people, right? The sun doesn't laugh. Animals don't laugh. Animals don't laugh. That's why we eat them. You frown, you're going down. That's just the way it works. But But I can tell you two reasons why we laugh. One, because as you know, God made us in his image. He laughs. He let us laugh. It allows us to experience joy, which is a unique experience to say that there's something greater than us. And it also reminds us of the foibles of being a human. We laugh at the same things because we all go through the same stuff. And so it's a reminder that God is on the throne, that we still make mistakes, but there's a way out and there's happiness. And take the joy while you have it, because there's plenty of darkness out there. So take the goodness when it can come, and that's what laughter can do.
You know, Brad, there's so many people today that are afraid to get into comedy because somebody gets offended all the time.
Yeah.
Political correctness is killing comedy in our society. Jerry Seinfeld won't play college campuses anymore because he says every time he does, somebody gets triggered and they have to go get a popsicle, a puppy, and some Play-Doh.
That's right.
So,
well, you know, it's funny you should say that because that's exactly true. I mean, the whole beauty of comedy is you can make fun of the hard things in a culture and find the humor in it. And, you know, those who are fans of mine and know my shows over the years, that was one of the things I always said was I want to watch political correctness die in my lifetime. But first, I want to watch it suffer. Okay, and so as long as I have a mind, a mouth, and a mic, I'm going to do my best to help that. But, you know, the whole point is you're absolutely right. It steals our liberties, political correctness, and the ability to laugh at ourselves, to laugh at everybody. And we see differences as something that's offensive, and let's laugh at our differences instead of fight about them. Because what makes us beautiful as humans is we're different. Thank God we don't all look the same. Thank God we're not the same size. Thank God. Right?
that's the way it ought to be.
I am very excited to have a comedian friend of mine on the show with us today. Please welcome Mr. Brad Stein. Hey, Brad, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Of course, my entire career, I'm used to performing and having no applause and no audience.
There you go.
So this is very typical for me. This is right down my sweet spot, brother. So yeah, this is just like one guy in the audience. That's what I'm used
That's
to.
it. Good. We're playing to the audience of one in this case. So, and don't worry, nobody watches this show, so it's probably just me and you on here anyway. So that's good.
Right.
But
hey, listen, I won't even watch it. That's just the way I am.
I never go back and watch my own stuff to even critique it, you know. So that's the way it is. Now, for those of you who do not know Brad has been a comedian for over 20 years. First of all, I call you an intellectual comedian. That's what for thinkers. And a lot of people say it's political, but it's really not political. Tell us about how your comedy works and what it's about.
Well, I mean, you know, I think in America we like to label things very simplistically, and I don't think that's always helpful. And especially in the Christian arena, which is where the most of my work now is. Once in a while, there would be somebody said, "Yeah, you know, we love what you do, but you know, we don't want to get too political." And you know, I've always kind of said, "Well, what do you mean by political?" In other words, you know, if I was getting up on stage and saying, "Hey, vote for this guy," or "Don't vote for this person," or "This person's a jerk," or that, I could see people being not comfortable with that because as a Christian, I'm forbidden to hate people, and so I get it, but I'm commanded to hate ideas that are different than God's. So I always try to, if I'm ever talking about a cultural issue, that's what I'm focused on is the idea. I don't sit there and say, you know, Nancy Pelosi or Donald Trump. I don't say things like that. Now, if a particular subject I'm happen to be talking about happens to be one that a Democrat would vote this way, or a Republican would vote that way, or a Libertarian would vote, I mean, that's kind of out of my control. I'm just talking about an idea, and whoever happens to associate with it really is up to them. But I think as a Christian, and because my show has always been, frankly, completely different than any other Christian comic out there, is that I stood for something. I had something bigger that I felt I wanted to use my comedy to explore. Now, what I mean by that is, you know, comedy, as you know, you're a comic. I mean, it comes in a lot of different flavors and a lot of different styles. Nobody's necessarily better than anybody else. If you can make somebody laugh, you're a comedian.
Sure.
But there certainly are different ways to approach it. And so if you looked at the secular, you know, you might have like a Brian Reed or a Jerry Seinfeld or a Jim Gaffigan who are pretty clean but very funny. but they're pretty much just observational humorists. They don't try to get dangerous. They're not certainly not trying to provoke anything other than just laughter. That's fine. That's one way to do comedy. But if you look at history, you also have Richard Pryors. You also have George Carlins. You also have Lenny Bruce's. People that used comedy, but they felt like there was a more to explore, and that comedy could perhaps do an exploration into more topical and maybe more volatile potential issues better, perhaps, than a politician could do or something. Well, that's kind of the direction I've taken my comedy. Is like, so when I speak of my comedy, I always had a couple things undergirding everything I did. Number one, that Jesus Christ is actually God, that my Christian faith is not my religion, it's not my philosophy, it's the truth. And it actually happens to be the Judeo-Christian ethic that was the formulation of the United States of America. The founding fathers obviously didn't want a theocracy. They created the First Amendment so that no congressional law could ever demand that you adhere to a certain religious belief, nor could they ever make a law that would forbid your religious beliefs in public and in private. So, when I speak of my faith, I just assume it's real, it's true, and that's how I'm going to approach it unapologetically. Secondly, that the United States of America is the greatest nation in human history. It's given more freedom, more goodwill, more altruism, more philanthropy than any other culture. Not perfect, certainly had mistakes. When the founders started this nation, they had slaves. We all know that. But it was the very creed of the Declaration of Independence that said all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, amongst which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that caused them to have to say, how are we going to get past this slavery thing and end it? Because they all knew it wasn't justified on what they were doing. So it just took them time as the union was being developed to say, okay, this is a problem that we can't get away from. And so we're going to have to eventually deal with it, which ended up in the Civil War. So that was my second premise that I've never apologized for, that the United States is great, still has things to learn, can still make mistakes, but all in all is greater than any other nation. You know how you know that? Because do people want in or do they want out?
Yes.
And I don't hear people, digging tunnels trying to make it into North Korea. I haven't heard about that one yet.
Right.
Well, it's not happening. And then lastly, I guess my comedy has always taken on the concept of political correctness and exposing it for what it is, which is
Right.
cultural Marxism. So it's a Marxist philosophy that is designed to inculcate into a culture the destruction of Western values and to implement Marxist values in the form of a philosophy that pretends that all it wants to do is be nice to people that are downtrodden and can't take care of themselves. So it sounds good, but it's manipulation. It censors you and it steals your liberties. You cannot truly be an adherent of political correctness and believe in the Constitution, because they're diametrically opposed. So as much as none of those things I just said to you for the last 3 minutes sound funny, because they're the depth of what I'm talking about.
Right.
I try to make it funny by dealing with those issues, and that's what makes me different and what sets me apart as far as Christian comedy goes, and what's always sort of, I guess, drew my line in the sand. And so if anyone ever said, well, he's kind of political, no, he stands for something, and some
Right.
people aren't comfortable with that. But to me, that's what I've been called to do by God. So I have to listen, or I end up on the beach in whale vomit. And I'm tired. I'm going to Nineveh.
There you
That would
go.
be my call.
Well, and that's what I love about you, because you speak the truth out of the Bible. You're a very biblically based person personally, and God's called you to get that message out there, and you use humor to do that. I tell people all the time, if you can get people to laugh, you can get them to listen, and that's what we want to do. We want to get them to hear the truth. My comedy is geared more toward introducing people to the salvation gospel of Christ, the salvation through Christ, more evangelistic. Where yours, you kind of take it after the person gets saved or receives Christ, gets plugged into a church, take them to learn to get deeper into the Bible and to grow, which I love. And you're really kind of an apologetics person. I like the fact that you're anti-political correctness, because we have so much of that. First of all, let me jump in right here and say, speaking of anti-political correctness, what's your take on the whole coronavirus so far and how we as America are responding to that?
I haven't heard about it. What is it called?
Coronavirus, yeah. You don't have your mask yet?
I haven't heard a thing about it. Yeah, I guess I should have watched the news. You know what? I'm not concerned about the coronavirus, and I'll tell you why. The moment that I heard about it, I went to the doctor and got my lungs laminated. So I'm in good shape, brother. It cannot attach to me. You know what? Here's the thing. I think we're like I'm certainly no medical expert, so do not go drinking fish water from anything I say. Please trust me. But I think that what we all have learned, hopefully, or are learning, is number one, when it was first indicated that this virus was in existence and could travel around and was very easily contracted, we were told things. This is an unusual virus. We don't know anything about it. We may not be able. Your body may not be ready to fight it off because there's nothing like this, and it's really easily, it's very contagious, and people they're going to be dropping dead in the streets. It's like the zombie apocalypse. This is the Black Plague. Well, if you're told that, you're going to say, holy smoke, lock my doors, put up tarps, stay away from me. Oh my gosh, the end of the world is here.
That's right.
So I can't blame Spain and Italy and the UK and the United States and all these places who were really just taking drastic measures because we were suddenly blindsided by this horrible thing, supposedly, that was going to kill us all. And of course, there were deaths that were happening there, and especially in Italy. But as tragic as that is, we've had some time now to look backwards. Of course, hindsight's always 20/20, and say, okay, here's what we've done. What's the data? Everyone talks about science. What have we found from this thing? Is this actually true? Is most people going to die? No, actually, 98% of people that get it not only won't die, they'll never know they had it. Now, what kind of a disease is that where people said, listen, do you have any symptoms? I don't. You got a fever? I don't. You got a cough? Not at all. Do you feel weak? Does it food taste normal? It sure does. Well, you're a carrier. But I always feel like this. You mean for my entire lifetime I've been killing people with COVID and I didn't know it? So the whole thing is absurd because even if you don't have any symptoms, they're saying, but you need to isolate because you might have it and not even know it. So it's like you can just make it up as you go. So what have we learned? Number one, Sweden never locked down. They're doing fine. So they proved you don't have to lock down to make this work. We had 9 or 10 states never locked down, doing fine, not having overabundance of death. Where did the death happen? Where we had most difficulty? In hot spots like New York City, where people live 2 inches from each other.
Right.
Okay. So secondly, people weren't tested, so they had it without people even knowing it. So when they start saying there's more viruses going on, more people are catching it. No, they had it all along. But now we know because we tested them. So, and now that people are just saying, as Americans, we're not going to do this. You cannot destroy my life. You cannot destroy my business. You cannot destroy everything that I have earned. I'll take care of myself. I'll be protective. Give me the right and the freedom to take a risk.
Right.
Just like when flu season's here, you going to take a shot? Or you're not going to take a shot. You're going to go out in public. You're not going to go out in public. So if you are older folks and you're in a retirement home or whatever, and you are more vulnerable, clearly they're the ones that need to be protected. And we need to not let people go in and visit perhaps for a while or put on the mask. Fine. Let's see who was in trouble and who's being, killed from this thing, and let's protect them. But when in history have we quarantined those who were not sick? And certainly in America, I have the right to take my own risks.
Absolutely.
And that's really where I think we've lost it. And so hopefully with people re-emerging, with states finally saying that, we're going to have to open up. And when we see that people aren't dropping dead and there's not suddenly a spike of 25,000 people died in 2 days, it's not going to happen. And we're going to say, ooh, we overreacted. And it may end up being, in retrospect, the greatest mistake in history as far as an overreaction to it. So first week, Okay, I get it. We didn't know what we were dealing with. This far down the road, we
Yeah.
got to change direction and get back to work.
And there's risk in living. No matter what you do in life, there's risk in living that we're going to die. I mean, speed limits. It's true. We have a speed limit here in Atlanta of 70. Most people go 90, but you're going 70,
No,
and it's
they
true
all
that
go 90.
what's that?
They all go 90 in Atlanta.
That's
Trust
right.
me.
Everybody goes
Who
90.
got
I'm
lunatics?
I'm doing 90. The police pass me. They're just going, they don't, and the light's not on. They're just going to get donuts. But everybody goes fast here in Atlanta. You just get past. But it's proven that if you make it down to 55, some lives will be saved. You know what? If you put it down to 35, more lives will be saved. But we don't do that because there's risk in life. That's the thing. I mean, there's risk every day you walk out the door. My wife is a nurse, and every flu season, she's always said, wash your hands, use your stuff. Don't call. If you're sick, stay home, like we do every year. And so I thought, man, this is, we're really taking this out there. And people are going to die no matter what. Only one person made it out alive, and that was Jesus Christ. He's the one, the only person that ever conquered death. None of us are going to conquer it except through him. Yeah.
He died.
Yes, and he died. Exactly. But he can't. Exactly. He died. But he's the only one that came back to life, right? And we can't do it. We will one day through his power. But you're right. He died. He definitely died. Yeah. But then he came back to life. He's the only person that conquered death. I should clarify it like that. But you're exactly right. And I was watching one of your YouTube shows the other day, and you were talking about how people consider when you have a disease that you're so courageous. And I love that. What your take on that, because just getting sick, you're right, doesn't make you courageous. Tell a little bit about it. I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Well, I mean, listen, my comedy, has taken such an evolution over the years. When I started out in comedy clubs, I didn't curse. I didn't do sexual jokes because I was a Christian. So I was clean, and I just wanted to try to be funny. That's hard. It's hard enough to just be a comedian. You know that. But when I started working in churches and bringing inspirational concepts to my comedy that I didn't even know I was going to do, it just kind of came out naturally when I started working in churches. And it was clear to me that God was calling me to ministry, that there was something bigger in my life or more profound that he had for me than just being a comedian. And I didn't realize that for a long time. And that's a longer story. But ultimately, because of the things that I stood for, my faith, even my country, what you would think, well, wait a minute, what does that have to do with faith? But I believe you're responsible for your territory. Okay. So if you are a Christ follower and you live in North Korea, like I said earlier, you're going to have a whole different way of interacting with folks, clearly, than you would if you are in the United States. Because if you are a Christian in North Korea, they're going to kill you, or they're going to put you in prison. If you're a Christian in China, if you're a Christian in Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Buddhists will attack you. If you're in India now, Hindus will kill you. If you are in, Nigeria, there's genocide against Christians. Matter of fact, Christians are the number one persecuted religious group in history in the last 3 years. Not in history, but in the last 3 years in the world. So this is part of the cost, and it is a cost, of having the truth. Well, what more would the enemy hate than being exposed as a liar? Because God said he's the father of lies, and Jesus said he was the truth. So that's why we're in combat. So I just felt like I had more to say in my comedy because life is short.
Right.
And my focus isn't how many tickets can I sell to Christians to do Christian comedy so I can make a lot of money and be famous amongst Christians and they can all feel good about themselves. And that's fine. If that's your thing, man, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but I couldn't do it. Right. I couldn't shut my mouth. There were things I felt that needed to be talked about Christianity, about people that called themselves Christians, went to church, and frankly were cowards and would not speak about their faith and would not stand up for truth and would not put themselves on the line if it was necessary in their workspace, in their jobs, in their family, in their neighborhood, in their country, in the political sphere, whatever it is. If you have the ultimate truth, the single greatest truth in human history, and you don't tell people about it, you're responsible for that.
That's right.
This is a big deal. This isn't. Jesus didn't say tell the whole world as a suggestion. He basically said to you, the only reason you exist on earth is to find God and to tell others. That's the meaning of life. That's it.
That's right.
Find your creator, share him. That's it. How you do that is your vocation, is your skill set, is your family of origin, is your history, is the place you happen to live. All those pieces of the puzzle are just the flavors and the nuances of how you participate in life, in this discovery. I found God, let me show you. That's it. So I started doing that in my comedy. I just felt like if this is true, man, I can't waste my time just bringing laughter. And again, I don't want you to think that I'm in any way demeaning those who don't make a ministry out of their comedy or their music or whatever. It's none of my business. I just felt like if these people came to see me and I'm in my comedy that God gave me, that gift he gave me, is inspiring them and bringing them laughter and joy and influencing them, and they're there to hear anything I have to say, I got to talk about Jesus.
That's right. That's right.
That's why it became that for me. And I mean, literally, it's my calling. I have no option. I have no option. This is what I'm here for. Now, again, I am unorthodox. If you see my YouTube channel that you referenced, Brad Stein Has Issues, I tried to deal with cultural issues or Christian issues, and sometimes it's just silly stuff, in a humorous way. Now, if you know anything about my comedy, you do, but for maybe some of your fans don't. I'm sarcastic. I'm in your face. I'm energetic. All these things I learned in comedy clubs that I brought to the Christian comedy arena. I was the first one to ever do that. There was no edgy Christian comedy till I showed up. There was no dangerous Christian comedy till I showed up. That was the flavor God gave me and said, bring this to my people because they need to open their minds to the different ways I have to communicate to them. And they're so used to, if it doesn't fit this little, perimeter that we're comfortable with, it's not Christian. And God said that you've got to change renew their thinking, because I have to use lots of different types of people in the future to respond to you. So when I spoke about, for example, the idea of, and the concept came to me when somebody would get sick and they would say, oh, his courageous fight over cancer. And my thinking was, well, really, what did someone do courageously if they happened to get cancer and they went to an oncologist to get a recommendation for how to go through chemo and everything? These are terrible, terrible situations to be put in. My father died of cancer. It's a horrible disease. I'm not trivializing or frivolously discounting the horror of cancer. What I was trying to make a point about was, if you're catch cancer, if you get cancer, whatever, and you're simply trying to get better, I don't think that's courageous. I think that's just common sense. It's like if I'm about, if my car's going out of control, I try to steer it straight again. That doesn't make me courageous. I'm just trying to protect myself. And so what I was really exploring was the courageous part of life is living life. Is in the mundane, in the day-to-day. Are you trying to be grateful when things are difficult? Are you trying to lift up others when you're not in a good mood? Are you trying to be non-covetous of the guy next to you who's more rich than you and yet be okay with that? Are you trying to help others when you maybe need help? Are you willing to take that incredibly ridiculous truth of God that Christianity teaches us, which is that whatever you most need in life, God says you need to give away first. It's ridiculous, but that's how God's kingdom works. You need love, go love somebody. You need friends, go be a friend. You need mercy, go be merciful. You need forgiveness, go forgive first.
All right.
Then I will give it back to you. Well, that's hard. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Courageous. to not necessarily see the God that you say you believe in when sometimes horrible things happen in your life, and to still hang on and say, I'm still going to hang on even though I don't see the answer and this feels wrong and I feel abandoned by the Lord, but I'm going to hang in there and I'm going to live my life with the truth that you are exactly who you said you are, irrespective of what it takes to get to the end. That's courage.
Yeah.
Not suddenly being told you've got 6 months. And the reason I say that is because the moment you were conceived, you started dying.
That's right.
Everybody is terminally ill because everybody dies, including Jesus. So
that's right.
he would then say, and now look, I conquered that. So you don't have to fear death. You're going to die. You don't have to fear it. You're going to overcome because I did it for you. So that was what that was about on my YouTube channel. And if you go to Brad Stein Has Issues, and I'll just tell your fans and friends, whoever are watching you, go to Brad Stein Has Issues on my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. You know, it's funny. Christians talk about wanting to work together and be a body, and yet in some of the simplest things, I'm sure you're in the same boat, that they don't do that can help build the kingdom. For example, if I'm doing apologetics on YouTube and on my Facebook page, and I say, can you subscribe? It's for some ego.
Right.
Oh, look, I got 2,000 subscribers. It shows that there's value to this, so that it means I can grow it and I can get it into deeper places. But only, unfortunately, the way they go is numbers. If you have the numbers, we can build this into more, or somebody will invest in you to help you, because as you know, it's expensive to produce these things. I don't get paid for it.
Right.
Guy pays to shoot these and edit these because he's in the kingdom. So they think we're all, guys like you and I are rich because we're on a DVD or something. No, not necessarily. Sometimes we're just doing it because we feel we're supposed to, and we're covering it, assuming God will help us get to the end. So go to YouTube, Brad Stein Has Issues, subscribe to it. That helps me. Go to my Facebook fan page. Just say like and follow. All that means is when I post something, it'll end up in your thread so you can look at it and share it. And we're building the kingdom together. I'm a missionary to America. That's my call. If you believe in it, you can help me. You can help you, because I know that's your calling, is to be an evangelist within your comedy to Christians, churches, and so forth. Let's help each other. Let's not talk about it. Get out there and help each other, which is why you and I decided maybe we could team up and something even more amazing, especially as we're coming on the other side of this crazy that we've all been part of in the last 2 months.
And you do have a great YouTube channel, very well produced. I'm doing this from my home in my little family room here, with a couple of lights and a camera. But it can be expensive to do it right. And you do have a great, great show. And I'm going to put it up here on the screen so everybody will see it. Please go check out Brad Stein Has Issues. And you do. The man has issues. It's a crazy thing, because let me tell you, one thing I love about you, Brad, is that you are edgy. I'll be honest. My comedy, I play mainly in churches and for people to get into church, that type of thing, and I keep it a little safe. I don't get real edgy on some of it because I'm trying to reach the masses. You do. You address some issues, which I think is one reason that my former pastor that I spent years with under his teaching was Dr. Jerry Falwell Sr., who was an edgy preacher. He would say things, even, at Liberty and at Thomas Road, he would say things. I'm like, wow, I can't believe he said that. But he could do it, and he would do it. He was edgy. And I think that's one reason he liked you. And I think one of your most popular DVDs, I don't know if it was your first one or not, but called Put a Helmet On. You did right there. Wasn't that filmed at Thomas Road?
It was 2003, I think. But anyways, it was Thomas Road. I was introduced to them by Charles Billingsley, who was a fan, and he brought me, because he was his music director and singer, and so he brought me to Thomas Road and to Dr. Falwell. And this is the thing about, as you know, because you went there, of course, at the time, Jerry Falwell was a very lightning rod of a figure in America.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was known for the moral majority and standing up for Christian values, but then incorporating political elements to it. And a lot of people didn't like him for that and the things he would say and do. and he was a Southern Baptist, and so people thought, well, he's stodgy and conservative, and this guy's, there's no wiggle room for this dude. He is dogmatic, legalistic, this and that. He wasn't. I mean, he had his particular perspectives that he didn't budge from, but he was wise enough to know I can't do everything.
Right.
There's going to be people that reach out to maybe younger generation that I'm not going to connect to, that I need to support. I may not understand this music, or I may not get it, but if they're reaching a younger folk, I'm going to support that. Well, DC Talk came out of that, liberty.
Yeah.
And he supported that. And so he supported my comedy, put it up, which you can still buy, put a helmet on. It's on Vimeo. You can rent it. You can buy it. You can get my DVDs or go to bradstein.com and get it. But Jonathan Falwell, his son, who's now Thomas Road Senior
Pastor, yeah.
He ran the cameras. He was just a young buck, getting his feet wet in this game. But, it was done on their stage. They did the backdrop for me. They made the whole thing. It was done on a Sunday evening, Super Bowl Sunday night.
Oh, wow.
PM, January something or other, I think. And I mean, I remember thinking, God, what in the world are you doing? Giving me my first big album first off with Jerry Falwell, which I have no problem with Jerry Falwell, but people are going to think I'm some Southern Baptist conservative, and they're going to pigeonhole me.
Right.
Secondly, it's a 5 o'clock in the evening, and the Super Bowl's starting in 2 hours. Who's going to show up to this? Little did I know the power that Jerry Falwell has when he told people on Sunday morning, come tonight. And the funny story that a lot of people don't know, if you've seen that, is that he told me right before I went on, he said, now here's what we're going to do. You're going to do about 40 minutes, and then I need you to stop because I need to come up and take an offering. Oh, okay. And then you'll come back and do the last 10 minutes and finish. I have never done a show where I did most of it, took a break, and then came back for 10 more minutes, let alone while I'm taping a video. But what are you going to tell Jerry Falwell?
That's right. You don't say no.
His thing, baby. So we did do that, and then I left, and then I came back on, and the crowd was wonderful, and of course you edit it together so you never know it happened. But at the end of the video, as the credits are rolling and it goes dark, you can hear him saying, and if you would like to accept Jesus as your savior, and you hear this voice, this booming kind of baritone that he had, and it kind of is sweet for me to remember that is whatever you thought of him, the man believed in Christ and in this country and wanted to do whatever he could to lift it up. And he's on my video and helped me get this thing launched. And in 2004, after I really kind of started hitting it big, and I was doing Promise Keepers and the giant audiences, 15,000 men, and the New Yorker magazine decided to do a 8-page article about me, this Christian comic, this conservative comic. They didn't know you could be funny, and they called me God's comic. That's where I got the moniker. I didn't invent it for myself. They interviewed him. And one of the phrases that they used, that he used, was that Brad Stein is a unique dispenser. And I always thought that was kind of a clever way to put it. But I think it also helped to crystallize what his perspective was. I don't do it like this guy does. I could never do it like this guy does. I don't want to do it like he does. He's a unique dispenser, but he's a dispenser.
Right.
He's pouring out something that needs to be drank from whoever has ears to hear. He's for them. And so, he was pretty open-minded about understanding how different flavors and colors Christians come in. And we need each other desperately to be one in a time such as this, where there's so much pain out there, so much uncertainty. This is a chance for Christians to say, there's a truth out there that will get you through this. Even if you don't know when your job's coming again, they're foreclosing on your house, and I don't know how to feed my family. God can, and will move through this time and do amazing and miraculous things. Because there's a bigger picture. And no matter what happens on this little bridge we're walking across into eternity, we win.
That's
I know
right.
how,
That's right.
I know the end of the chapter.
That's right.
So we're just in the middle of the adventure. So fear not. And that's kind of what I think is what you talk about when you're performing. It's what I talk about. And, I'm excited that you and I decided to get together because, you said earlier, well, I don't really get edgy or whatever. And you know what, Scott? Good.
Right.
You got to do that's you.
And what I love about that is because we decided to do this together, come out on the other side of this whole pandemic. I've never been very comfortable with the phrase "a new normal." I just haven't been, and I'm not going to be. And so you and I decided to come up with the Back to Normal comedy tour with Brad Stein and Scott Davis, two different comedians, two different total styles. Because I'm going to come in with stories about relationship with my wife and funny things growing up and that type of thing, and then you're going to come in and do your brand of comedy to get people to listen. But we're always going to end. My part is going to be geared toward salvation. Your part is going to be geared toward really the best word for it is apologetics. So tell the people what we're wanting to accomplish, especially from your viewpoint with the Back to Normal comedy tour.
Well, I mean, like you said, number one, it's to say we're not going to change America. I mean, obviously we're going through and have gone through a very unusual once in a lifetime thing. So we weren't really ready for it and understood what we were dealing with. But America's resilient. Okay, we had a revolutionary war where we literally fought the most powerful country in history. Our people, that's where we came from to have this freedom. We had a civil war where Americans, like they are now, were at odds against each other because we had different points of view and we were willing to die for that. I hope that never happens again, but that's what made America strong. We were willing to do whatever was necessary to maintain liberty and freedom. Then we had a world war where we didn't want to be involved, but we had to because fascism and Nazism was going to destroy the world and take over everything. And so we got involved in 1 and 2, and freedom rang. And then we've had September 11th, where we were attacked for our beliefs and for our religious beliefs and for our freedoms, and we rebounded. Yeah, things changed. Some of the things, the way we had to go to an airport changed, but we're still here, and now we're going through this. So but when you say this new normal, I agree with you. I don't buy into that because I feel like it's a manipulation of saying we get to control you and decide you have to live like this now. Who gets to make those decisions? We're free Americans. And when people say, well, the government is doing this or the government needs to do that, and I always have to say, excuse me, you are an American citizen, yeah? I am. You're the government. Do not give this power to somebody. I don't care if you elected them or not. They are representative of you. You are the government. Do not give your freedoms, your liberties away. They don't control us. They don't rule us. They're supposed to represent our voice. And if they're not doing that, get rid of them. That's what a constitutional republic's about. So I'm going to talk about those things. I'm going to talk about Christians being all in. I believe that God told me my job, if I do anything in apologetics for the non-believer, it's more pre-evangelism. It's sort of setting the table like there's something bigger maybe you need to be aware of in life, whereas you're more, let's get to the cross and bring people there. But I believe God told me that my mission is more to churchgoers. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm going to send you to the church and here's what God told me, and it's sobering. There's too many churchgoers in America. Not enough Christians. Because with Christianity, true Christianity comes with a cost. You're going to be hated. What does political correctness say? You're hateful. Don't offend people. Jesus said, you're going to offend people. You want to know you're one of mine? You're going to be hated. You want to know you're one of mine? You're going to be crucified. You want to know you're one of mine? You're going to die. You want to know you're one of mine? You're going to be a slave. You want to know you're one of mine? You don't get to choose where you go. I will send you where you are supposed to go. That's a discipline, which is where we get the word disciple. How many Christians in America, or churchgoers, want to be disciplined. They don't.
Right.
They want to be lazy because they grew up in the greatest, richest nation on earth. And Jesus said, I warn you, I warn you. I'm always concerned about giving you riches because you're going to start worshiping them. You're going to get safe. You're going to get comfortable, and you're going to then rest in the riches. And then when they suddenly start going away, you're going to panic and begin to give your liberties, your freedoms, your commitment to me away to get safe again, to get money back, which has become an idol. And so the double-edged sword of this nation and its riches is we begin to worship the comfort. And you look at most Christians in the world, they realize it comes with a price, that you might end up in jail. You might end up being ostracized. That's probably what's going to happen. That's kind of the deal. We're just now learning that. And that's why you see some denominations in America walking away from traditional Christian teachings. It's why you see so many Christians compromising thousands-year-old Christian doctrine for the sake of safety. They couch it by saying we're loving. We're loving. Jesus says love. He's love, so, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, he is love. But now you got to define love for me. Because if you think love comes without cost, if you think love comes without discipline, if you think love comes without an expectation of a behavior, if you think love comes without punishment sometimes, you don't know love. God said, I will chastise those who I love if they're off course, because I need to get them back on. That kind of Christianity, Scott, is not typical in Christian churches in America.
No, we become cultural churches where Christianity doesn't cost you anything. You want to go to church, feel good, get your coffee, leave, and do your life, and that's not biblical.
No, and listen, I don't want you to think, that I'm pretending like I'm some kind of Superman, or that I want to be beaten up or hated or crucified or put in jail. I don't want to do that either. But if that's the deal, I'm saying, God, I gave you my life. So if this is how you want this played out, that's on you. I don't want it. Jesus didn't want to drink the cup.
Yeah.
He did, but he was human enough to say, man, if there's another way to do this, let me in on it.
Exactly.
So thank God he allowed Jesus' human elements to say it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be anxious. It's okay for these things to come upon you, but don't rest in them. Don't allow them to nurture. Don't allow them to grow. Be aware that these are temptations. Give them back to the cross. For the cross, let God, Jesus' blood sanctify those things, and come back and say, God, I'm with you. You're with me. I'm in the valley of the shadow of death. You're with me. And that's really what we want to do. I mean, I don't want people to think that this is some kind of pseudo, tent meeting or something, and we're just trying to bait and switch them into thinking it's going to be comedy, but really we're going to be there just to beat them over the head with the Bible. No, it's comedy, and they're going to laugh. But you are going to bring the gospel, so they need to bring non-believing friends with them. If you're already a Christian, bring your non-believing friends, because they didn't know you could be funny in church. They didn't know Christianity looked like this, that they think you're stodgy and you can't laugh at anything and you're miserable. Let them laugh. They're going to hear me talk about our faith as far as how it applies to life, about this country. A lot of people can be conservative or patriotic. They're not necessarily Christians, but they're going to resonate with the guy that stands for that. So it's going to be comedy majority.
That's right.
But we're going to give them some substance that you can take them out afterwards for some coffee, or go to Denny's, or go to TGIF, wherever you want to go, and have some cheesecake or whatnot, and talk about what they just saw. So this is a bigger, it's going to be fun. And if you're just a Christian, just wants to have fun, you'll be happy too.
Oh yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. But if you can, like I said, our goal is to get people to laugh so that they can hear the truth. And we want people to leave with the truth, something to think about. There's an old saying: God doesn't have any grandchildren, only children. It's got to be your faith. And it's not because your parents were this way or your grandparents were this way. We want people to be thinkers on their own when they leave that night, and give them something to really think about biblically and spiritually on the salvation side and on the apologetic side, the truth, biblical truth. If you're watching this and you're a church, the Back to Normal tour, comedy tour. Brad and we're going to have a great time. We're going to bring this anywhere people will have us, and we're going to introduce people to Christ and introduce people to biblical truths that night, and have a blast while doing it.
Well, and just to not fret any of you out there, who might be interested in this, this is something that we're looking at the end of the summer too. So, don't think, hey, we can't even do anything yet. No, we get it. We're not doing it right in the next week.
Right.
We're gonna wait and assume that things will be back to normal, towards the end of the summer. So, just let us know if this is interesting to you, and we'll contact you, and we'll figure out a way to make it happen so it makes sense.
So that'll be fun, and I'm excited about what God's got in store for us personally and for churches out there when we come on the other side of this thing. Speaking of apologetics, I know we just had a great apologist pass away, Ravi Zacharias. Give me your thoughts on Ravi. Have you ever met him or talked to him? But you're considered really the comedic apologist out there, I think.
Well, let me just say this. I in my lifetime will never come close to the power and the intelligence and the articulation in apologetics of Ravi Zacharias. It broke my heart that he passed, because I've been inspired by that man. I never got to meet him. I've been inspired by his work, his intelligence. As you said earlier, you honorably said I was some kind of intellectual comic, and I appreciate that, because it is something that mattered to me when I began doing my comedies. Like, I wanted to churches. I wanted to bring intellectualism to Christians. I just felt like so oftentimes it was so superficial what we did, and simplistic and candy coated. It's like, man, where's the depth, baby? Where's the deeper things where people have to really think it through and have to take risks and really go to the big issues? And it's what I wanted to do. So if you saw that, I'm very pleased, because it's what I wanted to do. But he was amazing. I've got books from him. I heard many podcasts, many YouTube videos, debates. Loved him. Him and William Lane Craig, Frank Turek's, people along, Lee Strobel's, and numerous other folks, Nancy Pearcey, that I love their work and whatever. And they're all really, really good at what they do. But there was something about his personality, his style was so beautiful and humble. And there's times when I kind of shake my head and I said, God, I am so sorry. I can't be him. I wish I was like that. I wish I was so nice and kind and humble and sweet spirited. And it wasn't an act.
No,
he wasn't putting on some kind of Christianese and trying to behave like a Christian's supposed to be. It was his essence, and it was a wonderful, beautiful representation of Christ. He was known throughout the world. He knew dignitaries and presidents and of nations. I don't know how you make up for it. I don't know how you fill that gap, frankly. Like I said, there's others out there that can do the work he does, but the way he did it, the style, we can't match it. But I felt like almost like my marching orders were even more accelerated when I heard he passed. Is like almost like I felt like, God, I have to go fill that space, and I can't. Like I said, I'm never going to be as smart as him. I'm never going to be as articulate. I'm never going to be as deep. I'm never going to be as humble. I'm never going to be as gentle. I'm never going to be as. I'm not. It's not what I'm the opposite.
Right.
Kind of the way I do it. But, God didn't say be Ravi Zacharias. He said be you, and I'll use you the way I can. But oh, is he going to be missed?
It's going to be missed.
And I hope if I do any, yeah, if I do any, if any of what I learned from him and studied from him, if any of that rubs off and is passed on to somebody that I come into contact with, I'll be so grateful. Listen, he's happy.
Oh, yeah.
He's in glory. He's good. You know, you pray for his family. Of course, grieving, as I said in that YouTube video that you mentioned. The people that are in pain are the ones that are left behind.
Right.
And they're the grieving. He's in glory. He gets to see the one that he's been championing for 40 something years. So yeah, breaks my heart. But God bless you, Rabbi. You left a legacy that is unsurpassed. And if I just even get 1% of what you did to bring to folks, then I will feel that I did something for the gospel that had some note. But he was a big influence in my life.
Well, and I think that's one thing that we can leave our viewers today is don't try to be Ravi Zacharias. Don't try to be, Jerry Falwell or Billy Graham or Charles Stanley or any of these preachers. Be yourself. Be yourself. And whatever you do, remember God, through the power of His Spirit, is equipping you and can equip you to accomplish what He has for your specific life in your sphere of influence. There are people that you come in contact with every single day that I would never meet, Brad will never meet, we'll never know, but God's put them in your path for a purpose, and God is giving you the power to share your faith, and don't apologize for it. Let people know about Jesus. So, Brad, thank you so much for being on my show today, and I'm looking forward to getting with you when we get back out there together, so we don't have to do this, you're over here and I'm over there type of thing. We can be together in the same room. I'm going to shake your hand, maybe give you a hug. I told somebody if I have coronavirus,
I don't like any of those things, but I'll do my
best.
That's
right.
God bless you. It's been great getting to know you, and I'm really excited that you and I together will bring a lot of fun, a lot of joy, and a lot of hope for people. Back to Normal tour, folks. Bring it into your church. We're ready to roll.
Thank you, Brad. Talk to you soon.
All right, brother. See you.
Bye-bye. So the Back to Normal tour that is coming. So check that out. Let me put that number up here one more time. Let's see if I can find it here. Let me just make it for you. Here we go. Let's see. If you are a church and you want to ask about the Back to Normal tour in the fall, here's the number right there, 866-880-7901, 866-880-7901 to book that for your church. It's going to be fun. I love Brad. He's got such a great personality. Sorry about the internet issues. We had some internet issues at the beginning. We had some last Wednesday. By the way, I'm doing this now instead of Fridays, Wednesday and Friday, because I got several interviews coming up. And next Wednesday, Anita and Jim Daniger are going to be online. Anita, I'm doing an interview with them. Anita is the road manager for Tammy Trent, great artist, and she's married to Jim Daniger, who is the musical producer of Michael W. Smith. So he will be, those two, they're married. They'll be joining me on Wednesday. And then Friday, we have Babby Mason coming up. So you don't want to miss Wednesday or Friday of next week. Please take these these shows and share them. Even after it's done and we're over, go ahead and share that with other people. Post it on your Facebook, post it, the YouTube channel, all those things, because that helps us get subscribers and helps people, as Brad said, the numbers, that's what they go by as numbers, but numbers are people. And so check that out. And don't forget, the new masks are in. If you want to get one of the Jesus masks, you can. It's I don't know what I did with it, but anyway, the new Jesus mask is in. We only have 16 of those left, so go to ScottDavis.com and go to the store, buy one of those. I appreciate it. Beth, love you too, Beth, and love and hugs to Donna. Yeah, she's been listening and watching today too. So thank you for joining me, and we will see you Wednesday. Please share this now with people. Thanks.